Shubor nagaslem jong unongsan Hima.
Unoy lam kaliang persya Dr. Mukul sangma haringkat kajinga sendan lang jong kiwi pat ki MLA kaseng Kongres hakas ngibalang ulale jengo eka mayrang banongstan hawes kasihels penpet banya halor kerkom ai jing sumar bat kajing dan kitiar sumar ya ki bayoy o covid kat kendai.
The COVID question is only since last year. What about the preceding years? Yeah, you're at least ramping up few facilities. See, this is the best model of health insurance program that we have. Because the more patients you treat, and the more patients are covered by MHIS, more reimbursement will come to you. And out of this, meaning whatever reimbursement is given by the service provider, the insurance company, dedicated percentage of fund comes to your hospital management. So how innovatively you can use that is up to you. But then that is how we create it. So you will have more fun if you treat more patients who are covered by MHI. You can actually compete with private hospitals. That's the idea of this particular provision in our MHIs.
That's why we are doing the enrollment also.
After having visited different facilities created during this pandemic in West Khasils, we started from Mairang and now we are in Nongstoin. Similar exercise we have done across the state. So during this pandemic, all those friends who are collectively engaged in fighting against this COVID-19, our number one enemy, everyone is geared up. We are looking at how we can further ramp up the facilities, optimally utilize our resources based on what has been promised by the government, based on what has been told to us by the government. And in this exercise, to a great extent, we have been able to find out areas of concern in relation to the deficiencies, whether it is in relation to the infrastructural related issues or the issues related to the manpower and other wherewithal which is required to deal with this kind of pandemic. And as far as the concern is concerned, we have been sharing this concern with the government during different occasions when we had the privilege to have a consultation discussion with the government involving the opposition and other members of the Legislative Assembly. And since last year, ever since the pandemic started, this exercise has been on. We are grateful to the people of the state that people have come together. People have been collectively engaged in this fight against this pandemic. Many things which were probably areas of concern have been also addressed by our members from the community, from the public, by various different social organizations, political parties. So I think we should all be grateful to them, and we would like to place our on record our sincere thanks to all of them and deep sense of appreciation. This fight will be continuing, and keeping in mind the behavior of the pandemic in the past. We all have access to the exhaustive records of pandemics which has confronted the mankind in the preceding centuries. So we have to apprehend and anticipate accordingly how the pandemic will still continue to confront us with multiple challenges and multiple surprises. In view of that, how prepared are we will have to be seen in a continuous manner. The exercise of auditing to verify the areas where we are found wanting or to identify the deficiencies in order to ensure that we are not caught unaware and unprepared must be a continuous process. One thing is at least a sign of hope is that the second wave shows the sign of flattening. That is what we are seeing. But there is no space for complacency because there are reports that number of cases in the rural areas are increasing. And yesterday also I was looking at the number of the positive cases. In some areas the positive cases from particular localities, out of the tests that were conducted, the cases which were identified were almost close to 40%. In some areas, of course, as expected, they were not too high. The only important thing which is required to be attended to by the district administration under the guidance of the government and all of us is that we must be able to reach out to the community leaders, who must be able to prevail upon our people in the respective rural areas, not to hesitate to come forward and get themselves tested, so that we know what is the trend of the transmission chain, whether it is continuing or whether there has been flattening. That will be known only when people come forward, only when people are willing to get themselves tested and confirm whether they have by any chance contracted the virus. Now that part has to be a continuous process. That's why we have always maintained that we must have continuous process of conversation with the community. There must be conversation. We must have mechanism to reach out to the communities so that the trust factor is built up. There are many narratives which are circulating, which comes as a hurdle in our effort to get the compliance of the people to come forward and get themselves tested. Whether it is in respect of getting tested or whether it is in respect of getting themselves vaccinated. Now, since we are required to prepare ourselves for any likely third wave, God forbid, we would like to see that we do not have to confront that kind of challenge anymore. But in the event of the third wave hitting us, then in order to prepare that inevitabilities, we must ensure that we are able to vaccinate as many people as possible at the earliest time. One silver lining is that after various voices which have come from all corners across the country, the government of India has agreed to ensure that the vaccines are provided free for all. This has been in response to the collective pressure which was put in place by all concerned, the civil society organizations, the political parties, not just one political party, but all. At least one good thing has happened, that government of India has agreed. And in fact, there was an intervention from the apex court itself. And today we see the government of India relenting and agreeing to ensure that vaccination is free and made available to all.
Hadian kani, Dr. Mukul, ula batay halor kibabun ki EKA, bakum kakenhun, kalalap bad ula penparu, ia kajing songkia, halor kajing pol jang ukanyang jupang COVID kat kendai, syakitan yang kendong.
See why we have bigger challenge. See, from the human resources perspective, if we would have had to face problem like other states, where we would have been, we don't know. But keeping in mind our deficiencies from the perspective of manpower, whether in respect of doctor, whether in respect of general practitioner or the specialist, we wanted to have our medical colleges. Okay. We know what is the status of the medical colleges. Whether the government is taking measures on war footing manner to ensure their completion. If not, then there is lack of focus on that. That means their priority is not on this sector. Similarly, I remember, I think 3 nursing schools were sanctioned during our time. One is for Riboy, one is for West Khasias, one is for South Garhwals. What is the status? I am told that in respect of Rivoy, only the manpowers have been sanctioned. We should operationalize. Many children, many of our youth are willing to be nurses, willing to be doctors. They have set high ambitions for in their respective careers. We must do justice to these young friends. That's the reason why we wanted to increase our capacity, intake capacity for every year. So that instead of 80 seats, you can have 120, 150 seats in respect of MBBS. Similarly, the nursing. Many of our children are going to other states. You could have easily provided at least this access to this kind of professional courses of studies within our own state. Anyway, we will be talking about this. We will see that the government is capable of responding to these areas of concern. Probably they have lost their focus. Probably their priorities are different. We'll have to pull them up. This is our job.